today we get a very strong view of the consumer. Today we've got retail sales this morning. We've also got employment data this morning. We have the jobless claims coming out. And we also have Walmart earnings after the closing bell for the stock market today. So all that to say, we get a pretty strong view of how the economy is looking today. We get a good view of retail sales. We get jobs data. So it's really big. Today's going to be huge. Possible movement in any direction. We will have to wait to see what the data tells us. We're going to be talking a little bit today about some of the indices. Take a look at some currencies, some reactions to the UK GDP data. You can actually see the pound is up this morning. And then you've got gold moving higher, kind of relighting the flame here a little bit. We'll talk about gold in just a moment. And you've got the S&P 500 continuing, or at least holding, the gains of the last few days. This is such a loaded chart today. We will see how this plays out. So today, again, we have a lot of data points that could give the dollar, could take out the floor, or could give the dollar a little bit of support in the short run. So let's say the retail sales data comes out this morning and it's pretty strong. If the consumer is looking like it's in a good spot, you very well could see the dollar bounce a little bit. And if it comes out weak, we could see the dollar drop. Now, I don't know, and I always say this for newer viewers, I personally, or anybody else in this audience, we don't know for certain what's going to happen with the news data points. So trying to guess the direction and, YOLO trade on it is amateur hour at its finest, and reckless gambling at its worst. So we don't guess what's going to happen with data points. We don't bet the farm on, it's going up or down. That is actually gambling. So be careful out there. You're going to see other, traders or even content creators taking a different approach on that, but trying to guess the direction of the news before it comes out is a reckless game in my view. So we're going to take a look here. And also, by the way, adding buy stops and sell stops, also foolish, because again, the spread, let's say you put a buy stop right here, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to put a buy stop, and if it shoots up, I'll make money because it's going to shoot up. I'm going to get filled and I'll be instantly in profit. Well, the issue is where you actually get filled on your buy is like up here, because spreads go crazy on all brokerages. Brokerages are not dumb. In fact, good brokerages are run by very intelligent people, and very intelligent people aren't going to hand out free money and just write you a check because you put a buy stop or a sell stop. You got to think about this stuff. People who build brokerages, they've been doing this for many years. They're very intelligent. They're very good at risk management themselves. So my point with that is, if you think you're going to buy stop, sell stop, and make millions, man, I could go back to 2016, 2017, Trader Nick, who was playing around with that idea, and tell him, don't do that. You're going to lose money. And I did. So I'm telling you, that is I even built a system that would do that. I built an automated robot that would put a buy stop and a sell stop above and below news price with 15 seconds to go before news events. And it would cancel the other one, and it would look for the best spreads. I mean, I built a robot that would do that stuff, only to realize, oh, wait, broker spreads, no matter which one you choose, they're not dummies. They widen the spread to protect themselves. Gold, for those of you guys watching it, we are right back there, guys. We're right back to the highs. Found support off of this level here. And let's see with gold, I'd be really interested to see if we could get something like this. If you get a candle that looks like this today, if we get a all-time closing high, that would be awesome for gold. So we'll see. We'll watch gold today, because if you get like retail sales data coming in kind of weak and jobless claims coming in weak, that would be weak for the dollar, but really strong for gold, likely, because that would indicate lots of rate cuts are coming. If you get the double whammy, cool jobs data and a weak consumer read from the retail sales positioning or statistic, then I would say there's a very solid chance you see gold rip to a new high today. But again, we're going to wait to see what the data looks like and make a decision based on that. I'm not a scalper. I'm not a short-term day trader. I'm a swing trader. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for confirmation signals on the economic data, and then I'm looking for simple price action entries to swing trade off of, not scalp or day trade. Now, nothing wrong with those things. It's just not my style. I'm a swing trader, and that's predominantly what I focus on. We study the daily charts because they are, in my view, some of the cleanest to watch. Daily in the 4-hour chart, very clean price action. Here's the 4-hour chart. You can kind of see we consolidated at the highs, pulled back, but buyer stepped in. Very curious to see how we react to this level this time around with some fresh data coming out in just 1 minute to go. So real quick, guys, I'm going to switch over to our full markets view just so we can keep an eye on everything. So let me just show you what you're looking at here. You've got the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, the US dollar, the euro dollar, pound dollar. Gold is in the top right, and oil is in the bottom right. Okay, so about 30 seconds to go here, guys. Let's see what we get. And maybe we can go ahead and roll our breaking news here. So be right back. All right. 15 seconds to go. Let's see what we've got here this morning. This is, for me, one of the more interesting data points of the week. So I'm very curious to see what we get. Should drop in just a few seconds. All right, the euro is lower initially. Dollar is higher. Dow Jones up, SPX up, NAS up, gold flat. Okay, this is going to signal to me that retail sales were good and that unemployment claims were not too threatening. Let's see if that's correct. Let's see if I'm right about that. Retail sales good, unemployment claims not too threatening. Okay, retail sales good, part one. Let's see. It's a beautiful thing when this works out. There's retail sales. Heck yes. That is solid. 1%. Beautiful. Beautiful right there. And not so threatening. Okay, you know what we got to play. My new sound effect. Here we go. Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome. Beautiful figures here this morning. That is what the doctor ordered right there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Great news. S&P 500, NASDAQ are going to be up on that. That is very nice. The Russell just flew up. That is beautiful, guys.
This week only, we're doing 30% off our VIP Discord service. Inside the VIP Discord, you get access to real-time trade signals from Trader Nick, Frank, and Ivan, with complete trade details including analysis on the reasoning behind the trades, their entries, exits, and stop losses. Our traders cover a wide variety of assets including gold, oil, and other commodities, Forex trades, option trades, and even stocks too. We have active chat rooms filled with traders from all over the world discussing their trade ideas as well. Plus, you get access to our exclusive strategy guides and VIP webinars for joining. All of this incredible trading content is available right now for 30% off, and it's a one-time purchase. So grab it now on sale using the promo code down below before it's too late.
Now we are printing a big drop on the euro and the US dollar. We did have a very nice uptrend right here, which unfortunately did not produce any high probability entries for me, but now it's dropping heavily. So if this can sustain itself, print one more bearish candle, I would be very interested in looking for sell setups. Although it's not looking anything, it's not looking very special, I would have to say. EJ is, for me, looking very ascending. So after I see an ascending structure like this one, I do expect the price to reverse to the downside. So what I want to see is the ascending channel to continue a bit more and then start dropping. Right now, not seeing any high probability patterns. To be honest, Aussie and US dollar actually took a trade here, a flag buy, and just got taken out for a loss. So it was with a 10 pip stop loss. We saw a nice small tight descending channel, and then price reversed to the upside with some nice momentum, and then a quick tight flag, exactly how I like it. Took it on the blue candle, and then basically got taken out with the news. And yeah, we had a lot of news. This was a news candle. This one was, I think, PPI or CPI, not sure. And this one was now retail sales. Currently not showing me much, unfortunately. Since I got taken out of the trade, I'm gonna be more patient on this particular currency pair. AJ was in a very flat range. Now it's starting to impulse up. Again, this is just the first push out of a range. It is not convincing just yet. I want to see the next candle continue with the bullish pressure, and then we're game on for some buy setups. Pound, just flat in this area, flat and range bound. And NJ is also stuck between the low and the high. For me, it is flat and range bound. So yeah, my eyes are on mostly the euro pairs right now. I want to see some nice formations on the euro US dollar and on the euro Japanese yen, but I definitely like the news. The news is a good catalyst for a trend to start. So without news, I would not make nearly as much percentage as I would with some like major news releases.
That makes a lot of sense because, you know, even if you are a purely technical trader, as you guys both are, like you notice or you focus heavily on the timings of like when these high impact events can kick off momentum, can get things started in a certain direction, and oftentimes lead to multi-day trends. I mean, a quick example of that just recently was the move on NFP last Friday. So if you remember, last Friday is this big red candle on the dollar index, and it led to a huge move lower. It continued to sell off throughout the entire day. The trading action throughout the day, just bearish, bearish, bearish. And then Monday came out, and what did it do? It kept going. So sometimes, you know, the news event trigger can result in multiple days and sometimes even weeks of trends in a certain direction. So, you know, very interesting to see that. Miko, speaking of the dollar index, what are your thoughts on this right now? We've got the dollar bouncing a little bit here off of the lows. I think we spoke a few days back talking about, you know, how this support level, we're both watching it. What are your thoughts on the dollar index?
So yeah, I'm pretty bearish on the dollar. I'm personally only looking to favor more weakness with the dollar, so looking at some buys on euro and pound. But yeah, I mean, it has been moving well in the grand scheme of things in the bigger picture. It's kind of just like a big consolidation. But what I'm looking at really is that we've got the high around here, we've got the low around here. This is the weekly chart, and the market is basically bouncing between these two levels, 106 roughly, 101, around 101. So I'm looking to see if we can make a move back to the lower end. So that's kind of where I'm looking to take the dollar, where I'm expecting it to move. At the moment, we are testing some support right now, which we're finding a little bit difficult to break through, but I don't mind that because if we do see some upside, I think that just gives me a better opportunity for some shorts or for some longs on euro. Because we did mention this level here last week. We didn't quite get there because I was looking to short or buy euro from expecting downside on the dollar, but we didn't quite make it there. We fell over, but of course after the news right now we're looking pretty bullish. So I'm not looking to expect downside just yet, but if we do keep pushing high, especially to 103.800 or 104, I think that's a really nice place, and we could be in for a big move down. So I'm really liking downside on dollar. The chart doesn't look pretty good, but if this trend here decides it wants to continue, I think we could be in for another lower high, maybe a retest of that level for some downside. I'm looking for us to come back into that low there.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if there was some reaction to that 104 level. Another question for you is, I think last time we spoke, we were talking a little bit about the euro. Marko just had the euro pulled up, talking about how, you know, we've seen big move lower. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were both talking a little bit about, you know, maybe looking for the pullback play on the euro. Is this setting up for you anytime soon? Or if you're looking at the euro, where would you be interested in it?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's the same setup, same area I'm looking at because, yeah, so I'm looking at the high here. I think last week we're trading around here, kind of moving sideways, and I was pointing out this area here. We didn't quite make it, unfortunately. But yeah, we're steaming ahead into this level here. So this is my level of interest as well. Pretty big drop. So I'm going to see what we can do there, because I'm very much of a trader who wait for price to get to that level and start to react before I get into the move, get into the trade. So I want to see some wicks developing here before I do take the position. But that is where I'm looking to take a long, and again, see if the trend can continue, because on the daily chart, although Euro hasn't been moving great, we are starting to see some higher highs and higher lows here. So again, my plan of action is just looking for that to continue, really, for another move higher, and it's the same direction as the dollar. My analysis there plays out too. So yeah, I'm liking Euro USD to the upside. It's dropping pretty hard, so we'll see what happens there, because I don't know, maybe it just keeps falling for the rest of the day. But if we can see some reactions there, I will be interested.
Sure. I have a question for you, Marko. A big chart of recent focus for global markets has been all about the Japanese yen. You know, I mentioned that NFP report that really spooked investors and, you know, really triggered for many people a rush to go buy the Japanese yen without getting into the deep fundamentals. Basically, you know, people buy the yen when they're scared. And that really started to happen big time the last few weeks. And for now seems to have paused, and maybe even in with some of this good news today, we see some demand, you know, to short the yen again, to sell it, to you know, undo that trade once more. My thought or question for you is: has this momentum, based on how you see the charts, is the momentum shifting back bullish, or is this big move just setting up for a follow-through big move? What do you think?
Well, it all depends on the time frame. So I'm going to do the euro and the Japanese yen. But basically, on the 1 hour, it's starting to print bullish, especially with this last candle. We're starting to show a ascending channel and then an impulse up, which is a pair characteristic of this currency pair. This can spark an uptrend, but when you go to the daily, yeah, I would say bullish momentum is starting to kick in on the daily as well. But if I go to the US dollar and the Japanese yen on the daily, it still looks like the sellers are in control, in my personal opinion, because the big bearish legs are just far more bigger than these two bullish ones, especially because this one is a live candle and can still print bearish if it wants to. On the 1 hour for the dollar yen, it was very flat and range bound, and this is just a single impulse out of a range, so it is not giving me a very bullish confirmation. The bullish confirmation would be if this continues up. So this can easily just retrace back down, and I would say the case for the US dollar and the Japanese yen is still bearish, just by gauging the momentum and looking at the technicals.
Sure. Yeah, and again, that's one of the most interesting charts right now, just because of how much tension there was to buy the Japanese yen suddenly. That, I mean, for the, you know, the global kind of banks and hedge funds trades that go on, that was a very big one to watch. We saw that in the commitment of traders data. There was huge buying of the Japanese yen, or more, you know, practically actually short covering of the Japanese yen, and that seems to have slowed. And some of the good news today is, again, the state of the economy is not in shambles, and that, or actually, probably, I would argue far from that. The economy actually looks pretty good, and that is calming some nerves. Gold, what a turnaround here today. Gold was tapping on the all-time highs here the last few days, very close to that. And now with, you know, from a fundamentals perspective, I think today easily kind of explains the change in sentiment, because again, a lot of economic good news is usually not considered very bullish for gold, just because, again, if the state of the economy is good, people are going to buy stocks, they're going to buy bonds, they're going to buy, you know, assets of that nature. But then if people are scared about the economy, they might buy gold. So that flushed the downside here today. Kind of makes sense. But you got to remember, on the daily chart, we're still very, very, you know, strong here. Curious your thoughts. A big rejection here this morning. Does gold have room to come down lower?
Yeah, sure. So I just want to quickly touch on the point that you mentioned with multiple time frames. Like, I'm bullish on the 1 hour time frame on EJ, but I only need like a 20 or 30 pip move. So let's say I get the next candle going up and I get like a flag formation. I'll just get in with a small stop loss, and let's say, I don't know, 20 pips, something like that. And I just need like a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1. But on the daily, it can reject, as you guys said, from, let's say, this level up here. So yeah, it doesn't really matter if it's going up or down. It only matters on what time frame are you focusing on and which levels are you targeting. So we can make money on multiple time frames. Even if the overall bias is, let's say, to go short, you can still buy it on the 1 hour. So just a quick comment on that.
Yeah.
For gold on the daily, yeah, it tried to break up but rejected. It couldn't. For me, this is still stuck in this range. Still, I cannot make a decision if it's bullish or bearish until we get a breakout of this level or of this level, or breakdown of this level. If I go to the 4 hour, a bit range bound as well, but 1 hour is probably gonna be a bit bearish, and yes, it is. So my conclusion would be that it just doesn't really know what it wants to do right now. Again, I have my key levels. Until it breaks them, it is the same as Bitcoin. So I cannot make a technical decision because it still looks pretty consolidated in this general area.
Sure. Yeah. And again, I would agree on a technical front and honestly, even a fundamental front. There's some mixed sentiment that came in here today with the retail sales coming in nice and strong. You know, the picture here, a little bit muddied for fundamental bullishness as well. I'm not necessarily bearish, but yeah, I think a sideways choppy market for gold does kind of make sense for now. Anyways, same question to you, Miko, with the metals, silver or gold. Any thoughts here? Any setups that you're watching?
So yeah, I've been waiting for gold to break the high, and I was hoping for that today, but it doesn't look like I'll be seeing that at the moment. But yeah, gold, like Marko says, quite difficult to work out what price is doing. I mean, overall, we are still bullish going to the higher time frames, the weekly, the monthly. Momentum is still up. So from a technical perspective, I'll still be bullish alone from that point of view. But in terms of finding a good place to buy, I'm not really seeing anything right now, apart from the level that we created there. One rejection, second, and a third one there. I can see prices really focused on that area. So I was hoping for a big breakout, and I still am. It might just mean we go down first for a bit before we get the breakout. So hopefully we can get a breakout at some stage, and then I'll be looking for some pullbacks on this area because that's the only kind of clear-cut opportunity I can see on gold for now. And as gold falls down here, I'm just not really interested because I don't really see a clear-cut area to get involved. Unless maybe you can mark at some support there, but that looks a lot better to me, so that's where I'll focus my attention. And in terms of silver, there's a really big level just underneath us, which I was hoping we could fall into this week. We haven't quite done that yet either, but really big level. We've mentioned this level before, around 26. So I think this is a good level where silver could possibly go bullish from. I'm looking at the larger structure and how price is moving. Push, pullback, push, pullback, push. Could see another pullback for another move, and this is a really good level for possibly some really long-term buys as well. But hopefully maybe silver has one more move down, and then I can look at some buys later on. But still bullish, just finding some areas to get involved.
Yeah, no, I like silver as well, especially if we do get back down to those 26 levels. I mean, silver to me just is kind of something I'm permanently on the bullish side of. Same thing with gold. I mean, I really just don't love shorting these things unless you have a really strong conviction that you think the global economy is just going to enter terrible recession, which is possible. But think about how rare that is, that you actually get those, massive recession situations. They're pretty rare. So generally, I'm more on the bullish side of metals and indices for that reason. You just kind of have to think about it. Like if you think if I'm, 75% of the time I'm bearish on indices or metals, you're really fighting up against the flow of the current, right? These things generally go up, and you have to have a really good reason to be bearish on that. Speaking of indices, I mean, this is another really good example of that. So a couple weeks ago, I told you guys I was going through a bit of a drawdown in some of my trades, and I was super early, and you guys actually even were pointing this out. We were losing that momentum, and I took a couple buy attempts on the NASDAQ. I was definitely too early. I ended up waiting a little bit more, finally got the right entry, and the S&P 500 has finally given me that bounce trade that I was looking for. I was just way too early to it. I'm still in a drawdown technically, but I've recovered a lot of it just from this move. Really solid response to some of the recent data that kind of saved the day. Again, I mentioned that NFP report, which caused a lot of volatility in the dollar and metals and everything, also caused a ton of volatility because stock traders, stock investors were like, if we're going to go into a big old recession, get me the heck out of stocks. And, for a little bit there, briefly, as I just mentioned with these things, the flow of the current was to the downside. But generally, the flow is to the upside. So I still fundamentally liked it, even though price action was kind of disagreeing with me. And that ended up being a decent call for my strategy.
Did you know we do a live trading show Monday through Friday with guests from all over the world? To get notified when we go live, click the bell button next to the subscribe button or check in at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have helpful, free content in the description below and on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching today's video, and we'll see you tomorrow.